Hi, everybody. I have a really different kind of interview today, talking with an old friend, journalist Yuriy Matsarsky in Kiev, Ukraine. And I know I don't usually go into things like international relations and war here in my interviews, but I wanted to do that because Yuri is an old friend who I met before there was a war, when Ukraine was a peaceful country striving to be part of the Western Alliance of Nations. I visited it myself in, I think, 2017. It's a beautiful country. I'm glad that I was there now because of everything that's come to happen since. I have a better understanding of what the place is and who the people there are. A lot of people don't know it's the largest nation in Europe. It's not some little country. It is a very, very large landmass. It's the breadbasket, or it was the breadbasket of Europe. Not sure what its current status is in that regard. Yuri was a journalist before Russia invaded Ukraine. He's now a soldier, as you can see from his clothes, and we're going to talk to him a little bit about his previous life and his current life. And I met Yuri because he's a big fan of the Allman Brothers. He reached out to me, and we did an interview quite a few years ago, certainly before Russia invaded Ukraine. That's how long I've known him. And he and I talk with some frequency online, and I wanted some of you to have the opportunity to hear directly from him in Kiev about what his life has been like and what's going on there. Yuri, welcome. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you too.
Can you just tell me a little bit because I want people to understand the situation. How old are you?
I'm 44 right now,
Okay. Did
and
you ever think?
more than 3 years of my 44 years, I'm in the military.
Did you ever think 10 years ago or whenever it was that we spoke, maybe 2016, 17, whatever that was, that you would end up being a soldier? Was that something you imagined in your life?
I have some kind of thoughts about it because the Russia first invaded Ukraine in 2014. Uh, Russia occupied huge parts of Ukraine. It was Crimea and parts of Donbas region, parts of the Donetsk and Lugansk region. And everyone, or almost everyone here, understood that it's not the end. That somehow this situation needs to be resolved, and there are a lot of fears about continuation of war, about this war can be much bigger and much more bloodier. For your understanding, Volodymyr Zelensky, our president, was elected, as I understood the situation, as I understand the situation, first of all, because he promised to somehow solve the problem of occupied territories. He promised somehow to end the war, somehow to negotiate some peace terms with Russia. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Any negotiations with Russia doesn't work, and it didn't work in 2019 when he was elected.
So before you became a soldier, you were a journalist, right?
Yeah, I
And
was a journalist for 20 years, or maybe a little bit more than 20 years.
and what type of stuff did you write about mostly? Because when you interviewed me, that wasn't your usual type of work you did. That was just because of a love for music and the Allman Brothers. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct. I really love blues music. I really love rock and roll music. But my main point of interest were first of all Middle East and Central Asia. I spent a lot of time covering, observing the situation, working directly in Middle East, in Iraq, in Syria. For example, I met Bashar Assad in person in his residence in Damascus. I've worked a lot of time in uh, in Gaza Strip, and when 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 I came to army. I joined the army on the second day of a full scale invasion, and I already had at that time my tickets. I need to go to. It was the war. The full scale war started on 24th of February. I joined the army of 25th of February, and on 27th of February, I need to go back to Gaza Strip to cover the situation with Ukrainian diaspora there in Gaza Strip. Because for a long time I was working with them. I've been there 4 or 5 times in Gaza Strip during war times and during peace times, and it was my one of my main points of interest was Middle East. I was working there, and I really miss Middle East right now. It it was dangerous, but it was beautiful.
Well, how dangerous does it feel right now in Kiev? Could you tell us a little bit about what life is like day to day? Like, if you go out, can you go out to a restaurant? Can you go for a walk in a park? Can you go hear music? Is that kind of normal life occurring now, or does it feel more like a nation at city at war?
Uh, it's really strange situation right now, not only in Kiev, because I'm not always in Kiev. I'm moving. Uh, Last week I was in Kharkiv. It's my native city. It's the second largest city of Ukraine. It's situated almost at the border with the Russian Federation. It's less than 30 miles to the border of Russian Federation. My native city, Kharkiv. And it's really interesting because Russians are shelling this city of Kharkiv daily. And when I was there one day, they they launched about 40 drones and about 10 missiles at the city just in one day, just in one day. And at the same time, the coffee shops are working, the restaurants are working, the subway is working, and it's free of charge. From the beginning of the war, subway in Kharkiv is free of charge. You don't need to pay for transportation in any public transport. Uh, and but it's it's so strange because you came to coffee shop to order coffee, and there is no windows in this coffee shop, and all it's broken. The glasses in windows are broken because of the blast waves, because of the blasts themselves, because of the because of the bullets from the first phases of war. Uh, People put some kind of plywood instead of glasses, and they continue to work, and they continue to serve people. Almost the same in Kiev right now, but Kiev is much larger than Kharkiv. It's much larger, and it's much farther from Russia. So, but last night or maybe night before, it was also about 40 or 50 Iranian drones came to Kiev, and also rockets. Iranian drones, it's a deadly thing. Uh, it's it's a thing in the size of a small car with a few 100 kilos of explosives. And Russians also decided not to launch them only with explosives, so they started to put nails, hundreds of nails around the explosives to kill anyone on the way of a blast wave after explosions. So these Iranian drones, they started to produce these Iranian drones here where in Russia. They started to produce them en masse. I think hundreds, maybe even thousands every month. They produce it and they launch it to Ukraine. And also, of course, missiles. Kharkiv can be reached even by artillery. It's less than 30 miles. It can be reached even by artillery. Uh, eh, all the city of Kharkiv. You ride there, you walk there, and you almost on every step you can see the signs of the war. You can see the craters from shells. You can see smashed windows. You can see burned down buildings. It was really interesting statistics uh, on the first uh, on the first war of a full scale invasion, Russians destroyed more more buildings in Kharkiv than Nazis destroyed buildings in Kharkiv during all the Second World War, during during all the long of the Second World War.
So you wrote in your Substack, which I'll link to when I post this. When you read this, you'll be able to see the link below. Your last article was about Ukrainian Nazis, and I should put that in quotes because you're saying it's something that's not real. How much do you think Russia has been able to succeed in telling false narratives about this war in ways that have helped their cause and hurt your cause? And is there anything you can do, and how can we as Americans help you? Because right now our government is not being as helpful as most of us, no, I shouldn't say most of us, many of us would like. What else can we do?
It's a really complicated question. You know, Russia, uh, Putin himself and Russia by itself, they mm, they decided uh, that the victory over the Nazis in the Second World War it's only their own. When Putin or someone from his entourage talking about the Second World War, talking about casualties of Second World War, I mean Putin or they, people from his intelligence, but they don't use any other words except we. They are talking like that. That is they. That are they people who are fought against Nazis during Second World War, and they are now in their imagination and in their propaganda. Anyone who are against any plans of Russia who are against any evil concrete plans of Russia, they are Nazis. Ukrainians are Nazis only because they don't want to subjugate to Russia. Ukrainians are Nazis only because they don't want to go to concentration camps and don't want to leave behind our language, our culture, because Russians really want to make Ukrainians think that our culture is inferior. Our language is not a real language. It was like they said, their propaganda, Russian propaganda, really like to tell the story about that Russian language did not exist till the beginning of the last century, and it was invented in Austro-Hungarian headquarters on the eve of the First World War to do something bad against Russia. So we're living in some kind of historical I don't know sick house, something like I don't know.
Fantasy.
Uh,
Yeah.
what can you do? It's really simple. It's really simple. What any American can do a lot of things for Ukrainian soldiers, for Ukrainian army. You can send 5, 10, $100 to units to any kind of soldier or officer you like. For example, I also have my own PayPal, and we need now to repair our van by which we can travel to the front lines to our cities and I'm now serving in media unit also, and one of our missions in this media unit is to film and to record stories about the war, about the occupation. We record soldiers and officers on the front line. We talk to the people, uh, to the peaceful people who survived the occupation, and so on. And we have our van. This van is also a donation. The guy from the Estonia gave me and my colleagues and my comrades his van. He drove it to Lviv, to western part of Ukraine, and gave it to us free of charge. He said, "I just really want to help you. I just really want the world to know and to see what is going on in Ukraine. That's why I donate this car, this van to you, so you can write, you can film, you can record podcasts about what's going on, and Ukraine and the world will see what is going on. And so if you want to help, it's really easy. It's really easy. Anyone can help. And as I always said, even $1 or $5 can really change the situation. It's always welcome.
So, and I will also post Yuri's PayPal beneath, and I can vouch for him as being a honorable person who will use the money as he says he will. Yuri, you were talking about the myth of Ukrainian Nazis. I believe you yourself are Jewish. Is that correct?
Partly, yeah.
Yeah.
Part of my family is Jewish. Yeah,
And of course, President Zelensky is Jewish.
yeah, yeah. He's also
W
Jewish. Yeah.
Was that any controversy at the time he was elected prior to this? Was there an issue in Ukraine about electing a Jewish president?
No, never, never. There is no some kind of issues with any nationality in Ukraine. Ukraine is we have a lot of ethnicities in Ukraine. We have almost 1 million of Muslims in Ukraine, and the majority of these Muslims are always been here. It's Crimean Tatars. It's Crimean Tatars from they are local people in Ukraine. They are also Ukrainians, but they are from some kind of other origins. They are not Slavic people. They are not Christian people. But it's okay. There are a lot of Crimean Tatars in Ukrainian army. There are a lot of Jewish people in Crimea in the Ukrainian army. Uh, I think I saw about people from about 20 or maybe 25 ethnicities in the Ukrainian army. I even saw a guy who was born somewhere in the Central Africa, but uh, he thinks about himself and he positioned himself as Ukrainian. He perfectly speak Ukrainian, and he doesn't have any troubles with his comrades in his unit. But he's obviously from Central Africa. He's black and he's speaking Ukrainian nice, but with accent and not any problems. He doesn't face any problems with his comrades.
Yeah. And the reason I went to Ukraine in 2017 was because my wife's grandmother was from Uman, and we went on a little bit of a heritage trip to go there. And of course, it's also Rabbi Nachman, who is the founder of the modern Hasidic movement, is buried there. So it's a very popular, almost pilgrimage point for people who follow his, I guess you could call it, sect of Judaism. Has Oman been affected by the fighting, and is there still that kind of religious tourism happening there that you know of?
Um, I think it's really important to understand that there is no safe places in Ukraine. Any place can be reached by Russian drones or Russian missiles, and they regularly show that they can reach any distance, any point, and launch their missiles to real long distances. For example, I mean, Russians, they killed a whole family in Lviv, which is located about 1,000 miles from the border with Russia. And of course, they also launched some kind of missiles or drones to Uman. I think there are some destroyed buildings and some people who were injured by Russian attacks. Of course, the scale of pilgrimage by Chabad movement, it's much less than years before the full-scale invasion. But at the same time, people still coming people still coming to this grave of Rabbi Nachman. Right now, it's much more difficult than before because there is no any working airports in Ukraine since the beginning of full scale invasion. You cannot just fly into Ukraine. You need to fly to some kind of nearest countries, for example, to Moldova or to Poland, and took bus or find some kind of taxi or to take a train and then travel to places you want to visit. And when we are talking about Uman, it's it's complicated because it's not a big city and
Yeah,
it's not some kind of usual destination for buses or for trains. But anyway, people from Israel, people from Canada, from Europe, from United States, they are still coming to Uman, to this grave of their rabbi.
yeah. And I think people should understand because a lot of Americans might not understand this. I don't think even I did before I went. Before the war, for the Russian invasion, Kiev was a very easy city to get to. You could fly there from almost any European uh, capital. I think I flew in from Zurich, but I mean, you could fly there from London, Paris, Munich, et cetera, et cetera. It was not a hard place to get to, and it was a city very much integrated into Europe. Right before I was there, they had the Eurovision in the stadium in Kiev. They had there have been many, many huge soccer matches there. My son, who was like 15, I think at the time, wanted to go over to the stadium because he had watched so many soccer matches there. So I just want to make sure that Americans who are watching this who don't understand how integrated Kiev was into Western Europe, to make that clear, what a big change it is that there's no flights there now. That would be the equivalent of if there's no longer, say, any direct flights into uh, Germany or France or any other European nations. I just wanted to state that so people understand. And
Not only Kiev, not only Kiev, all the Ukraine was deeply integrated into Europe. I can tell you that even Donetsk, which was occupied by Russia in more than 10 years ago, in 2014, before the Russian occupation, it was it was the city with a huge modern airport, and from Donetsk you can fly from almost any place in Europe before the Russian invasion. Right now there is no airport in Donetsk. It was completely destroyed during the fightings in the 2014 and 2015. It was completely destroyed. One of my commanders, the guy who was my commander 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, was the commander there in Donetsk airport while they are fighting Russian invasion. They were surrounded by the Russians, and they spent few months fighting almost completely surrounded by Russians. In Ukrainian language, we since that time we call that people who fought in Donetsk airport against Russian invasion at the beginning of this war more than 10 years ago. We have a, a distinctive name for them. We call them cyborgs because uh, all these buildings were completely destroyed. They were hiding on some kind of under some kind of rubble, and they were still fighting. So the walls fell, and people were still fighting. That's why we call them the cybers, and they really cyborgs. They really people from steel, and there are a lot of people from steel right now in Ukraine.
you're a very proud and brave nation. And I remember watching the news when I saw that Russia was invading, and I was so upset. And I really felt that within 48 hours, uh, they would be in Kiev. And I remember looking at the pictures of President Zelensky and his family, his beautiful wife and children, and crying because I thought they would all be dead or imprisoned in 48 hours. And it's 3 years later, and you're all still there. So I know how difficult it's been, but I offer you my own personal congratulations and best wishes. And you've been a light really for the world to show how to fight and how to stand up. It's been quite amazing. Are you still able to listen to music, and does it bring you any joy?
It was a huge pause for me in listening to music. From the beginning of, as I told you, I joined the army on the second day of the full-scale invasion. On the first day, I I went to work. I was working at the radio station. I was talking some kind of things about what's going on in the air on my radio, and at the same time, I was thinking, what I'm doing here? It's not time to be some kind of radio host. I need to be in the army. So I came back home and told my family that I'm going to join the army, and that the first, of course, first days, first weeks, maybe even first months were really hard. It was disaster because we don't have time to sleep, or we don't have place to sleep. We slept on some kind of of really cold cement floor. It was really hard. It was really hard, and I don't have no time and no any wish to read, to listen to music. And at the same time, when it became a little bit easier, a friend of mine from the United States, she told me that I must uh, I must read. I must read at least a few pages every day, just uh, uh, just not to lose the habit to read, and not to lose the habit to think about what I'm reading about. So and it really helped me a lot during the first months of the war. I uh, I since where that time I always have my ebook with me. I always read this ebook with me, and I have a lot of troubles with listening to music. It was really because the music for me was always associated with something nice, with some of my trips to Middle East, with some time spent with my family, with some time spent with my parents who are refugees. They when the war started, they were in Kharkiv, and were both people in a no, I cannot say that we're old, but we're not very young, and we really have a lot of issues with the health. So we were evacuated from Ukraine under the fire, under the rocket fire. My father, he got the stroke during this evacuation. So it wasn't any time for music. It wasn't any time for music. But I think about 4 or maybe 5 months ago, I started music again. I started to listen music again, and it really helps a lot. It really helps a lot because uh, I can now imagine that there is or there was some peaceful, nice times, some peaceful, nice places. It's some kind of time machine. You are put your headphones in your ears, and you are started to play BB King or Miles Davis or the Allman Brothers Band, and you are traveling to the place and the time that when this tune was associated with something beautiful or something comfortable for you. So it's really important not only to read and also to listen to music and to understand what are you doing. To you need to push yourself to do it even if you don't want to do it.
Yeah. And so much of the music that we love that you mentioned, BB King, was born out of some of the greatest pain and suffering of the modern time. I mean, BB King was born into a time and place where he was not considered a person. He had no rights, couldn't, he could be killed with impunity by somebody. And I don't mean just him, of course, but African Americans in that time and place. And they created this incredible music that sustained them, I believe, and has sustained so many people. And I think that listening to music and reading helps you remember who you are and keep your humanity in sometimes inhumane circumstances. So, Yuri, I wish you all the best to you personally and the people of Ukraine. And we will continue to be in touch. And I will share the link to your writing and also to your PayPal if people want to donate. And are there any other organizations you're aware of? I know Razom, I believe it's Razom, is a relief organization that works in Ukraine a lot. I believe is a good one. I don't know if you have any thoughts on them or any other organizations if people want to contribute that way.
I'll send you also the link to the organization, which is really nice one, and which helps a lot to people for people in Ukraine, for soldiers, for for people from the occupied territories. And I also want to tell you a story. You helped me a lot. Also, again,
Yeah.
you helped me. You already helped me a lot because thanks to your book, I I read in your book that there was a guy with almost the same name as mine who worked with Allman Brothers Band. Uh,
Steve
so
Mazarsky. Yeah.
Steve Mata, yeah. So I started to search people with the same family name in the United States, and I found some kind of Facebook group with the people with the same name. There are a lot of most of people with my name in this group were their roots were in Ukraine or in Belarus, and they were so nice to me. And one of them, one lady, she asked if she could help me, and it was the very first months of the war, and at that time I still have a really heavyweight bulletproof vest, and I asked if they can purchase me some kind of lightweight lightweight shields to this bulletproof vest, and they found some guy, some shop, not a guy, some shop here in not in Ukraine, here in Europe, in Austria, and they bought. They spent about uh, 500 euros. It's little bit more than $500, and we bought these plates for a bulletproof vest with shields to me, and I'm still use it in my bulletproof vest with these plates which were bought by Matsarsky from Ukraine, thanks to you.
I'm glad I could help in that way. And I think that's a good way to end this. And remember, for people listening, that's a good way to think about Yuri. He basically is a cousin of Steve Mazarsky, uh, who was a very important figure in the Allman Brothers, and it's talked about a lot in my book, Brothers and Sisters. So when you help Yuri and you help Ukraine, you're also helping indirectly a relative of the Allman Brothers, so to speak. Um, but I think that also highlights the fact that really it's not bad to look at the world that we're all really brothers and cousins, and we're all connected. And certainly many of us here in America in the Jewish community have very deep roots and connections to Ukraine. Many, many, many of us. So again, Yuri, I wish you all the best. Thank you for taking the time, and we'll be in touch and continue to stay in touch and keep updating. And I think it's good. I hope that people watch this and get something out of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.